now as South Africa prepares for the reopening of alcohol sales tomorrow. What can we learn about consumer behavior and consumption patterns from other countries that have eased lockdown regulations regarding alcohol sales? Let's speak now to James Morris, who is the editor of Alcohol Policy UK, talks to us about alcohol trends in Britain. James, good evening and thank you for your time tonight here on Newsroom Africa. The Brits, are they drinking more or are they drinking less during lockdown?
Well, it depends what type of drinker you are. So we've had quite a few surveys release data now. The initial headlines that all our newspapers reported were that everyone was drinking lots more and showing lots of pictures of empty supermarket shelves where there was no alcohol to buy because everyone had rushed out and bought it all. What's actually emerging from the survey data now is that most people actually report that they're drinking about the same or even a little bit less. But if you look at heavier drinkers, people that consume more than the recommended guidelines or at least double the recommended guidelines, most of those are actually drinking more, although a lot of them are actually attempting to drink less. So it really depends whether you're looking at kind of people that generally have their drinking at kind of low risk levels or people that kind of already had a bit of a risky relationship with alcohol.
What's the greatest reason for them picking up the bottle? Stress, anxiety or just boredom?
So yeah, we don't really know exactly the reasons, but it would be very logical to say that people who already had a kind of unhealthy relationship with alcohol are adapting or coping with the kind of stresses that the lockdown is facing by drinking a bit more.
Now, of course, when the lockdown regulations were announced in the UK that restaurants, bars, shebeens would not be selling, the offline license was deemed essential. How did the industry manage to get government to give policy that was favorable and that did not harm their industry?
Well, the alcohol industry in the UK has very effective, well-established links with the policymakers. There is also, I think, a bit of a kind of general feeling that people use alcohol to relax and unwind as a legitimate coping mechanism. You know, in the UK we have a long established drinking culture, and most people say that people drink or believe that they drink responsibly and without problems. So I think, you know, the reason that it was deemed an essential good was not because of any kind of rational or legal argument. It was more a reflection of our kind of cultural relationship with alcohol as a normal and acceptable way to deal with stress.
The younger drinking group, however, has shown a slightly different take on it, particularly those who are using this opportunity to go for a more healthier lifestyle and maybe opting for organic drinks.
Yeah, so, I mean, before lockdown, we've seen some really interesting trends, particularly you know, across much of the Western world, where younger people have been drinking significantly less. Middle-aged and older groups are not drinking any less. But yeah, there's this kind of trend amongst younger people where there's lots of different reasons speculated, and we don't know for sure any of them, but you know, maybe an increased kind of desire to be more healthy, to or people being worried about how they'll be portrayed on social media, not wanting to be like their parents who, you know, in our generation are kind of heavier drinkers. So yeah, younger people in terms of drinking overall are setting a better example. Having said that, there's still groups of young people that are still drinking quite harmful levels.
1.2 million is the number of alcohol-related hospital admissions, 2018-2019, that has been reported. Any numbers as to how this COVID-19 and drinking has affected those numbers?
Yeah, we don't have the kind of official year-on-year statistics. So, yeah, we know that 1.2 million hospital-related admissions from alcohol every year in the UK. We don't know what the longer-term effect will be. And, yeah, we've got very limited data about that so far. But certainly it's not going to be a positive impact. We know that domestic violence is likely to have risen significantly, and there's a strong link with alcohol and domestic violence. Obviously, alcohol is not going to be a protective or helpful factor for people with pre-existing symptoms or issues, or coronavirus indeed. But we just don't have good data on the effect on hospital admissions yet, but we know it won't be good.
James, appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us tonight. James Morrison joining us there from the UK. He's the director of the Alcohol Academy.